From Mr. Peters' lecture on September 4th, an argument is defined as a language-based social phenomenon that enables us to discover what beliefs and actions are reasonable in any society context, and that is concerned with the selection and organization of idea to justify particular position. Each component of this given definition of an argument brings out the perfect ways an argument should be presented. The part of the definition that states a language-based social phenomenon, everyone communicates through language, signs, nonverbal communication, and many more ways every single day. Language is one of the most important in a debate and an argument. If you think about it, language is an important aspect of most people's lives. Every day, if we did not talk in our point of view or try to get our situation across, it would not even necessarily an argument, but it would be very hard to get that point across. A social phenomenon is something that is constantly changing and constantly being renegotiated. An argument does not contain just one certain position. There are many aspects to each viewpoint that each person has in an argument and is constantly trying to get their point across and trying to persuade the other to essentially take agreement on the other side. And then the part of the definition that states that enables us to discover what beliefs and actions are reasonable in any social context. Each person in an argument, yes, has the ability to state their opinion and tries to get their position across with discovering their beliefs and their actions. The way people present themselves is a factor that goes into showing one their side without just simply stating it, because without emotion or conviction on how you feel about this certain subject, the current situation cannot be very convincing. And the last part of the definition that states, and is a concern with the selection and organization of idea to justify particular position. To justify one's position, there are tactics, organization, traditions, models, as well as strategies to portray your argument in the most effective way possible. A model of argumentation presented from Professor Peters' lecture notes on September 11th was the Toulmin model. The Toulmin model is one of the most popular and straightforward models of argumentation. The Toulmin model, you would state your claim, then following that would be the grounds or data, and then following that would be the warrant, and then would be the backing, and with that you would state your qualifier and rebuttal. I believe that my definition of an argument best explains tradition number 2, which is the normative tradition. I believe that my definition of an argument could be somewhat compatible with the third tradition, which is the descriptive and explanation tradition, but I do not believe that it is compatible with the traditions number 1 or 2. Tradition number 3, it could be somewhat compatible with. I feel that tradition 3, it states that it views argument not as a unit or a text, but as a human interaction process with very much so, and I feel that that very much coincides with my definition of an argument. And to present an argument, I would be using the Toulmin model. First, my claim would be that junk foods in schools are causing childhood obesity, and my data from that, my data would be from an article by Robinson titled Overweight Children and Adolescents. According to the National Health and Nutrition Examination surveys, the prevalence of overweight children doubled between 1976 and 1980, and then 1999 to 2002. My warrant for this would be schools are the best place to create lasting changes, and kids are increasingly looking not to their parents, but schools and their environments that they're in most. And therefore, junk foods should be banned to create a healthier lifestyle. And then the backing for this argument, or for my argument, would be if we can rightfully prove that our argument that junk foods in schools are causing childhood obesity, then junk foods should be banned in schools. To conclude, my conclusion would be that I stand firm that junk foods in schools are causing childhood obesity. But for each side of the debate, the side that is trying to get rid of the junk food, their valid points would be that schools need to practice what they preach, and examples on this would be to state that schools have never been so committed and centered in a child's life, and school now is teaching children about finance, sex and relationships, citizenship, as well as living right and the responsibility. And you cannot teach children how important it is to stay healthy, because it can grow diseases as we grow older and can affect not only ourselves but the ones around us. But you cannot try to teach that with the counter adjustment of junk foods flooding schools in many different ways, such as vending machines, standing in line for lunch, all the lunch lines. They're not, each lunch line is either pizza or a burrito, and usually you would get like tater tots on the side, or like French fries. They don't offer like apples or anything healthy, so that schools are just flooded with junk foods that are not healthy. So you can't try to teach them to be healthy with the counter adjustment of having junk foods in every way possible. Another point for this side would be that better nutrition leads to better students, and examples and statistics on this from the Student Healthcare and Academic Achievement states that there's a growing body of evidence linking a healthy lifestyle, compromising of both adequate nutrition and physical exercise, with the improved memory and concentration and general academic performance, as well as providing healthier foods in schools. We would also provide the government with incentives as well. The first benefit would be to those with higher grades have improved upward mobility, and the second would be to the schools, that schools with higher standardized testings are rewarded, as to where schools with bad testing scores, their staff is reduced and other branches suffer as well. For schools that aren't very good in like their standardized testing, they get they don't get as much money, which means less staffing, which means less students, and kids that aren't as smart, their schools do suffer a little bit. So with being healthier, it provides you to be get better grades. But for the opposing opponent of this topic, they would have to overcome the points that targeting schools would be an ineffective strategy. They would have to branch out by stating that the Bureau of Labor Statistics have said that given that high school students in the U.S. average only 6 hours in school, and the widespread availability of fast and other forms of junk food, we can hardly expect that impacting this single environment of the school will leading to any lasting behavioral changes. Another valid point that they came up with, the students would simply bring unhealthy foods with them if they couldn't find it at school. Another example would be, even though schools may be able to coerce and compel their students to comply in disciplinary measures, they cannot stop their children from buying sweets outside of school. Based on the resolution, I would take the side that junk food needs to be taken out of schools. There's way more evidence, and even though it won't help all students, it will help most.